If you have been applying to schools abroad and you've been getting into those schools, but you haven't been getting funding that you need, well, that situation ends today, because in today's video, I'll share with you the 5 crazy mistakes you've been making that are stopping you from getting the funding that you need. Hey, my friend, what's up? You know what? I know how crazy it is to spend time and money applying to schools, getting your hopes all high that you will get into those schools, you get the funding you need, and after investing all that time and money, you get into those schools, but you don't get funding. The first time I applied to schools abroad was like 9-10 years ago. Oh, I cannot be that old. And I got into all the schools, but I didn't get good funding. You know, all those schools that the tuition, I don't remember, maybe the tuition was maybe £30,000, something like that. And then you get a scholarship of £5,000. Have you been in that kind of frustrating situation where you're like, is this really scholarship? Is it not better for you to have given me zero? Because what is $5,000 from like a $40,000 or £40,000, type of school every year? Like, does that even make sense? So I have been in this situation, and of course, I ended up not going to any of those schools. I just packed up the whole going abroad thing, and I just started working. After graduation, I ended up working in Lagos for many years before I tried again to apply to schools abroad and ended up coming to the US. So I understand that situation, and that's why today I want to share these mistakes with you so that you know why you are not getting funding. Mistake number 1, not thinking about funding early enough. Okay, let's talk about that, because that is probably the most common mistake that I have seen. For many of us, we first think, oh, let me apply to schools, and then once I apply, then I can think about funding. Do not make that mistake, okay? You need to think about funding before you even apply to the first school. That is logical, but that's not how the admissions process works. Please don't make this mistake again. Before you apply to a school, make sure you've done enough research to figure out if they are a school that funds international students. If they fund, and they fund well, there are things you can do. I've shared multiple things on this channel. I'll link some videos in the description box, but you can actually figure out if a school funds on average, just on average. Then you apply to those schools. There is no point applying to schools without knowing, without having the faintest idea if they fund. You need to figure out if the school, there's so much that goes into a school funding. Many schools don't have huge endowments. Some of us went to schools, and I won't mention their names, okay? But there are some schools that we went to that have a lot of endowment. So you need to balance out the kind of schools you apply to. So don't make that mistake of applying to schools without first trying to figure out if they fund and how much funding they give on average. So that is the first mistake that I see people make, and you, my friend, should not be making that mistake anymore. Mistake number 2 you're making, my friend, is that you are applying to the schools that are easiest to get into. I think we're all guilty of this. When we want to apply to a school, we want to kind of make sure, we're applying to schools that have very high acceptance rates, they barely reject, or a school that a friend or someone got into, me too, I can get into that school. That is great, and that makes sense. But the problem is those schools that are not competitive, like once you apply, they usually admit almost everyone. Many times they don't offer good funding. The most competitive schools have more money and can offer funding. And why is this the case? I want to explain a bit of how this funding thing works. The truth is, schools rely on their endowment fund or on their donors or on their alumni to be able to get this pool of funds that they can give incoming students. So a school that has like alumni in high places a school that has alumni in high places and their alums are doing very well, those schools generally, okay, have huge endowments, because a lot of these people that graduated from this school, at some point in their lives, they've been so successful and they love this school, they'll just be like, hello, I'd like to give this school, a donation of $50 million. That happens in real life. Hey, Lord, take me there, get me to that point. But anyway, that's how it works. And once these schools get such money, they have it in their fund, in their endowment fund, or some people call in and say, hey, I want to donate $20 million, and I want this to be for specific category of students, maybe international students, maybe students with this background, maybe Muslim students, maybe women in this kind of situation. Now, what the school does is they get all this funding or all these all these donations or gifts, and then they have them in like buckets, and it's from those buckets they offer funding to you when you're applying, especially as an international student. So if you keep applying to schools that are the easiest to get into, there is a very good chance those schools are also not the ones with the huge endowments, with the huge gifts from alum. So that's why those schools generally don't have enough to give. The truth is, you cannot give what you don't have. Okay, let me sound like some of my motivational speakers. You cannot give what you don't have. So if the school doesn't have enough money, they would not have enough to give you. So do not apply to just schools that are easy to get into or schools that have very high acceptance rates. Try to apply to other schools as well. The third mistake you're making is that you don't have a good mix of schools that you plan to apply to. So when clients come to me, I have this one-on-one program that I only take a few people. Anyway, the point is, when clients come to me and before we get started on anything, we work on selecting the right schools. And this is such an important step that a lot of people overlook. They just do a Google search, schools that offer this program, and then they apply to 5 or 6 of them. But you need to put effort into applying to a good mix of schools. And when I say mix of schools, like if you're applying to 5 schools, for instance, you need to make sure 2 of them or 3 of them are kind of at the same level, maybe based on ranking or things like that. You need to make sure at least 2-3 of them are at the same level, such that when you get admission offers from both and you want to negotiate for funding, schools that are the same level, funding negotiation works more for those schools. Because if you are my competitor and I notice my competitor has offered somebody $5,000, I want to offer the person $6,000, and that's how negotiation works. But I won't get into that today. But my point is, have a good mix of schools. You should not just randomly apply to 5 schools that pop up when you do a Google search. No, you should think about, why am I applying to this specific school? Why this one? Why that one? Is this a good mix of schools? And that mix could be applying to like 2 schools at the same level. Like I said, it may be some schools that are very competitive, but they have funding. It may be some schools that are not competitive. You are kind of sure you get in. Like, there's a whole strategy behind applying to the right mix of schools, and that varies by person. So the right mix of schools for you will be different from the right mix for me. And this is like a major step that we cover in my bootcamp. So I have this 2-month bootcamp, usually runs for 8 to 10 weeks, where I take you through the entire application process, from like, I don't know anything, I don't even know the school I'm going to, and we go through that, go through writing your essays and personal statements, go through, submitting the right resume. I have this bootcamp, depending on when you're watching this video. If slots are open, you can just click the link in my description and you can join the bootcamp, or just get on the wait list. So whenever I open the next bootcamp session, you can join. But this runs for like 2 to 3, like 2.5 months really. So we go through this in my bootcamp, and you want to make sure from beginning, from the choice of schools you're applying to that you have on your list, that you get it right. Okay, mistake number 4 is you are too shy to ask for more money. Why are you shy? Hey, let me bring out the Yoruba side of me. Because why are you shy? But listen, I was in your shoes. The first time someone mentioned to me that you should ask this school for more funding, I'm like, me, email a school for more funding. How? Won't they take back my admission offer? Won't they do this? Would they even respond? But hey, don't be shy. You need to ask schools for more funding. I'm going to repeat that because it needs to sink in. You need to ask schools for more funding. And why should you do this? Because your classmates are doing it right now. The people that will be in that class with you when you get into that school, they are asking the school for more funding. Don't be shy at all. I'm naturally a shy person. Okay, forget YouTube and camera. I'm shy in real life. So like someone telling me, send an email begging for, I just thought about it as begging. Begging. But the truth is, you need to ask. If you don't ask in these parts of the world, you don't get it, okay? So when you get an admission offer from a school and it comes, maybe the tuition is $50,000 and it came with some funding of maybe $25,000, and you're like, I'm grateful. Oh, yes, you should be grateful, but you should ask that school for more. You must ask that school for more, and the best time to ask is before you accept the admission offer. This is the thing. A lot of people email me after they've accepted the admission offer, and I'm like, what am I going to do now? You need to ask the school for more funding before you accept the offer. Once you accept to marry someone, that's how I think about it. There's almost nothing you can do. Of course, we're not talking about divorce situation, okay? But before you marry someone, negotiate. Negotiate with the person. This is what I want in my life. And the person who tells you this is what I want in my life. And you see if we can collaborate, okay? You get what I'm saying? Another mistake you're making is you're applying to the wrong destinations. Okay. Somebody needed to say that, right? So the first time I actually tried to apply to schools abroad, I applied to only schools in the UK. Like that's what I did. And I see a lot of people still doing this today. And the UK is great. The UK is a great destination. But anyone that has been in this admissions business knows that there's a ranking of countries when you think about funding. Some countries offer more funding than others. In my experience and in the experience of a lot of people that are in this space, we know that the UK is not the best destination for international students that need a lot of funding. I just needed to say that. Don't come for me in the comments, okay? Share your opinion, but please don't come for me. Now, if funding is something that is important to you, I don't see how you would only, that's the key word, apply to schools in the UK. It's great to apply to schools in the UK. I love my UK schools. That was like my first choice, okay, when I was applying at first. But you need to realize some countries, generally schools in the US, offer more funding than schools in the UK. And these are just examples. You can think about Canada as well. Like there's so many destinations, but there are some schools in Europe that a lot of you don't think about that offer good funding. But I'm talking about UK specifically and those popular schools you hear about. So the mistake you're making is you're only applying to specific destinations that are not great for funding. Now, does that mean don't apply to schools in the UK? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying add schools in the UK to your list of schools you're applying to, but also add schools in other countries as well. And this is, if my client is really passionate about going to the UK, I usually make sure they apply to other schools in other countries as well, just in case they don't get the funding they need from the schools in the UK. The UK, they will usually offer you funding, but it's usually something tiny, like so small, such that it's like not significant enough for you to end up going to those schools. So that is one mistake you need to stop making. So I just checked my notes and I realized that I have more points than 5. I have like 8 points I wrote down, but I don't want this video to be too long. Let me know in the comments if you need a part 2, okay? Because we need to stop these mistakes this year. That's it. We need to stop making these mistakes and get into the schools that we want to get into and get good funding so we can make our dreams a reality. Somebody shout amen. And I really believe that things will work out for you this year. I'm hoping, I'm praying for you that you will get the funding that you need to make your dreams of studying abroad a reality. Don't forget that you can click the link in my description and go register for my bootcamp, because we teach all these things so that you don't make these mistakes, so you can make your dreams happen. So you stop making these mistakes. We go through every single aspect of the application process together. in the bootcamp. So if you're interested, click the link, learn about it, and see if there are spots currently open so you can join the next one. But that's it for today's video. Again, let me know if you need a part 2 of this video. You can tell I'm passionate about this topic, so let me know if you need a part 2 of this video. And if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.